Hamilton. So pleased that we have such a nice crowd here tonight at our initial offering of Annie's Conversations. This is a new part of our program where we just pick up on what's going on out there in the discussion. And we offer a chance for you to talk with someone who knows something about what you're talking about. And this topic this time is, I heard it through the grapevine, something about grants. And so our featured presenter for this evening is going to be Amanda Robertson. She's the beginning farmer and rancher regional coordinator for the USDA Farm Service Agency. You see her email there on the screen if you would like to get a hold of Amanda following the program. Let me just give you a couple of the questions that has precipitated this program, and then we're going to turn it over to Amanda to talk about it. Some of the questions that we hear, we pick this up on our Twitter feeds. We pick this up on chat rooms and Facebook and Instagram pages. So some of the questions we hear is, I hear people talking about grants. How can I get one? Or I need help to purchase some land. I'm putting in a fence and wondered if there's any grants to pay for it. Or something about, I know nothing about grants, but would be interested in learning if there's anything to apply for. So with that, let me turn this over to Amanda, and you can finish telling us a little bit about yourself. I'm going to stop my share, and Amanda, if you put your slide up, please.
All right, can y'all see that?
Yes, it's coming through good.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, thanks, Ruth. As she said, I'm Amanda Robertson. It is a pleasure to be here with you this evening. So I'm with USDA, the FSA Office of Outreach. I am a regional beginning farmer and rancher coordinator. Unfortunately, our director of outreach for the Farm Service Agency, Latrice Hill, was not able to join us this evening. So hopefully we'll be able to share some information that will be helpful to you and will provide answers to some of those questions that Ruth talked about, because certainly those are very popular questions that we hear from folks around the country as we deal with everyone, you know, from very diverse operations to diverse areas of the country. So it's usually on everyone's mind, how can I get money to assist me in my operations? So this evening, we're going to talk a little bit about the financial opportunities that are at USDA, as well as perhaps opportunities that you have within your state. And that's going to vary. The things we talk about from USDA are going to be universal, but it's so important as we move through this presentation, you'll see why it's crucial to have a good network within your state so you can stay abreast of what programs and opportunities are available to you specific to your state, as that may differ a little bit. But just a quick introduction to USDA. As many of you may know already, USDA provides leadership on food, agriculture, natural resources, rural development, nutrition, and related issues. We love to say that there's a place for everyone at USDA. And our job in the outreach office is really to help you try to find that place. So this evening, we hope to clear up some questions you may have, let you know about some wonderful opportunities that are available to assist you with your operation. You know, we have all these programs for you all as producers, as farmers, those who are interested in agriculture, to take part in that, to help you either begin an operation, expand an operation, whatever, you know, stage you may be in within your operation. We've probably got some assistance for you. So we want you to be aware of that and take advantage of it. So we have a vision to provide economic opportunity through innovation, help rural America to thrive. And we're even moving into the arena, as I'm sure you're probably hearing about, focusing a lot on urban agriculture. So not only are we trying to provide programs and assistance to those in rural areas, we're leveraging our footprints and moving towards those folks, reaching them in urban areas and how they can produce their food in those type of settings. We promote agriculture production that nourishes Americans and the world while preserving our nation's natural resources. So just a little bit here, and I really like this diagram as there's a lot of things shared here, a lot of words that you'll hear about, a lot of financial opportunities that are associated with a lot of this terminology. So hopefully we'll share some good things with you. All right. How do you get connected with USDA? Every state now has a state beginning farmer and rancher coordinator, and these individuals work across USDA. While specific agencies have outreach coordinators or public affairs individuals, point of contacts, these state beginning farmer and ranchers are very well-rounded in having knowledge with all USDA agencies. So that's their job, and you can connect with those individuals and find out who your state beginning farmer and rancher coordinator is by visiting farmers.gov. There we have a directory, all the states, every individual's listed, their telephone number, email, and so you have readily access to them to reach out to them to get connected. Also, visit locally with your USDA Service Center. We can't stress this enough. It's so important to build that relationship as individuals at the national level, the state level. While we all share that same message, at the local level is truly where the rubber meets the road. They're the individuals who do the work, can let you know specifically what's going on, can help you with your applications. It's just very important to build those connections. And if you're not familiar with your USDA Service Center, where it's located, there is a locator available. You can simply Google USDA Service Center locator. Map of the United States will come up. Click on your state. Then you can narrow it down to your county, and that information will be provided to you. Contact information, name, email address, telephone number, address of the physical location. It's all available to you through that locator. Again, we encourage you to go in and visit. During the time of COVID, we've been a little bit limited on our personal interactions, folks going into the office, but we're moving back into the stages where we're welcoming those visitors. But still important to connect by email or phone to ensure that you're able to walk in and receive services. So as we think about the various programs, whether it's through our loan programs, the grants that are offered, cost share opportunities, we have some targeted groups that we focus on. And if you can identify in one of these groups or multiple ones, you can potentially receive incentives and priorities in those programs when you apply for them. So it's important that you pay attention when you apply for programs to see if it asks if you're a beginning farmer and rancher. And what does that mean? It's anyone who has not operated a farm for more than 10 years. Now, there's a second part to that definition, which we're not going to get into the weeds of all of this, but if you're applying for a farm ownership loan, which is something that's offered through the Farm Service Agency that we'll talk about a little bit later on, you can't own more than 30% of the average acreage in the county where you're applying for assistance. But you may think, how am I going to know that? Our farm loan officials have access to that. It's provided to them. No need for you to worry about it. Just your main part is if you've operated a farm for more than 10 years. You can't have done that and identify as a beginning farmer. Socially disadvantaged or historically underserved individuals. Here we have a list. If you can identify as such, here you can read through the list: African Americans, American Indians, Alaskan Native, Hispanics, Asians, Pacific Islanders, and women. These individuals, specifically for the Farm Service Agency, are considered socially disadvantaged minorities, historically underserved individuals. Veteran farmer or rancher. And if there's anyone on this call who is a veteran, we certainly appreciate your service. We thank you for that. You took the step and served our country. Now it's our opportunity to serve you at USDA. So a veteran farmer or rancher is anyone who has served in the armed forces, not operated a farm for more than 10 years, or has obtained veteran status within the last 10 years. So again, you'll hear me sometimes repeat myself through this as we talk about these things, but we learn through repetition. Hopefully we want to instill this in your mind of how important it is when you apply for programs, and you just be aware of it and ensure that you apply correctly so you don't, in essence, cheat yourself of an opportunity on funding or missing out on receiving incentives and priorities. So if you're looking for money to assist with your farming operation, USDA provides financial assistance to individual farmers through loans, cost shares, and grant opportunities. Now, I will want you to pay close attention as we go through this, because it's so easy for us to get confused or there to be some misunderstanding on sometimes what monies are actually available to the individual farmer or producer, and then those monies that's available to, say, organizations or entities. So we want to clarify the difference in those opportunities. So again, here we say it's important to connect with your local USDA service center to learn more about each opportunity. So as we step into this, we've got a diagram here that sets aside some differences between loans and grants. And this is something that, we get questions all the time about. So do not feel that you're confused on this. It can be confusing, but hopefully we can clarify some of that. So a loan, it requires a repayment of the money borrowed. A grant does not require you to repay money. That's a very distinct difference there. As far as USDA goes, and specifically the Farm Service Agency gets a lot of calls wanting to know how folks can get assistance with purchasing land. A loan, we can do that. It assists the individual producer with purchasing land. A grant does not. To our knowledge, there is no grant out there that helps you through USDA, through the government, to purchase land. It's not an option. A loan can require a down payment, and that's any loan you go to. Through the Farm Service Agency, we can finance 100% where a down payment is not required through our direct program. But oftentimes, more times than not, a down payment's required for a loan. A grant, on the other hand, you could be required to have matching funds. So sometimes there's a grant, and here's where it could vary a little bit through state entities or organizations. If they offer like a small farm grant, potentially it could be 100% covered, or the majority of grants often require matching funds. And that matching funds can be in the form of monetary and money, in kind, or third party. So if it's kind of labor in place of money, that could be an option. Third party, you've got someone else involved who is, putting up the money for the operation and providing that matching funds. So there's different ways to look at that on providing those funds. And it could vary within the type of grant that you're talking about. And there's different types of grants. Different agencies have different grants, and we'll talk a little bit about those as we move forward, but that's just a different. One can require a down payment while the other can require matching funds. A loan assists producers in starting or expanding a farming operation. Again, we offer the low interest loans, the operating loans, the farm ownership loans to help you purchase that land, just like a conventional lender would do. A grant are funds that's used for projects that benefits producers. So there's no grants, again, that's offered through USDA that helps with startup cost or helps you to expand that operation, or just like the fencing that was mentioned. We don't have grants that assist with that. Loans are done, anything to make improvements on your farm. Oftentimes those are loans. They could be through cost share opportunities, which we'll touch on, but the specific operation itself for the individual, that's handled through the loan side. It's not offered through a grant. So the grants are for organizations, as we'll talk about, to assist those groups with projects that will in turn benefit the producer, whether it's through training opportunities, mentoring, outreach, research, education, things such as that. Those are the projects we're going to talk about. So for the individual producer, what's available? FSA is known as the lender of first opportunity and does not offer grants. So there's no grants available. We have the low interest loans, as we talked about operating. So that's anything, purchase livestock, purchase equipment, for annual operating inputs to help you get your crops out for the year. Anything dealing with that and assisting your operation. Farm ownership, just as it is, help you to buy land. That's what that loan program does. And then the microloans, what a lot of our beginning farmers, small scale farmers utilize, it's $50,000 or less. That's offered through, and these are direct programs where no down payments required. As we talked about, we finance 100%. So on our operating loans, we term those up to 7 years. The farm ownership loans are termed up to 40 years potentially, except for the microloan. If you're doing a microloan, farm ownership loan, 25 years is the maximum on it. And then guaranteed loans, we work with a conventional lender, and the government will guarantee that loan 90 to 95% potentially if you're a beginning farmer. Again, that's where identifying as such is very important. Then rural development works much like the Farm Service Agency. That is a sister agency of the FSA within USDA. They offer both loans and grants. So this is the agency that's going to provide the most assistance and the grants that are available to the individual producer. So they offer rural home ownership. So if someone's looking to purchase or construct a home in a rural area, oftentimes rural development is the agency that assists with that. Also help them with starting a business in a rural area. So there's loan opportunities available for that. Now, the value-added producer grant, this is for the individual producer. So if someone they're growing a commodity and they're adding value to that commodity. So if you're growing tomatoes, you're making salsa, you're growing berries, you're making jam, you're doing grapes, you're making wine, anything along those lines, anything to add value to your product, you could potentially be eligible for the value-added producer grant program. And I will say, this is a nationally competitive program. Again, we talked about it being important to identify with your targeted groups. There's incentives and priorities offered to those individuals who classify as a beginning farmer. So it helps in that ranking process nationally. Also, when you're applying for a grant, it can be a very difficult process to navigate and ensure that you have all of your I's dotted, all of your T's crossed. It's very important. So a lot of people will connect with a grant writer. So I would encourage you to do that. If you're not familiar with it, there could be entities within your state that offer assistance for that and can help you through that grant writing process. Connect with your local cooperative extension to learn about those opportunities, perhaps through your state departments of agriculture. They may have a program, or through other state entities, perhaps your farm bureau, your colleges, your universities. They're probably going to be the ones that are going to be most knowledgeable and perhaps provide that assistance through a program that they offer. So there's opportunities to help you through the grant process, but the value-added producer grant program, it is for the individual producer. And then Rural Energy for America program, another rural development program, that's a grant opportunity. If you're looking to make energy improvements on your farm, in your business, whatever your situation may be. For example, if you want to improve the lighting, you do LED lighting. If you're looking to improve the heating, cooling system, geothermal heating and cooling, it doesn't cover installments for new units, but you have to be making that improvement, that energy efficiency improvement. So also, those grants, like the Rural Energy for America program, could be coupled with a loan. So they do grants and loans, but that is an opportunity for the individual farmer. Assistance for organizations. As we stated, most USDA grants are available to organizations as opposed to individual producers. Grants to organizations are for providing education, mentoring, technical assistance, research, and/or outreach to producers. So again, it is assisting the individual producer, but not directly. The individual producer cannot apply for these. They're not eligible. has to be an organization, an entity, folks such as that. Cooperative agreements are also an opportunity. These are often, they're ran through our outreach office at FSA. We offer cooperative agreements to organizations to help us, they work much like a grant, to help us in providing outreach, education, or technical assistance to producers. And it could be to a targeted group, to an underserved community. That could be the purpose of cooperative agreements. So we provide that funding to organizations. Again, it's not to the individual farmer or producer, but it is to reach that individual producer and hopefully explain things, provide technical assistance, helping them to, if it's helping them fill out applications, USDA that's offered, or whatever the situation and case may be, that can vary. But that's where most USDA grants are available to the organizations. Where to get the information. So to learn more about loans, as we mentioned, that's through the Farm Service Agency. And you can simply Google USDA FSA loans and the Farm Loan Programs page will come up. I want to make note of the Farm Loan Discovery Tool. If you're wondering, how do I determine which loan is best for me and for my operation, there's a self-assessment tool here, the Farm Loan Discovery Tool. You can utilize, it'll ask you some questions about what you're looking for, what you're wanting to do, and then it will give you the options of what loan you're eligible for potentially. Then to learn more about grants, grants.gov is the website to visit. Again, rural development for the individual farmer. Those two opportunities are available. Again, nothing to help with startup cost. Won't help you. There's no grant available to help you buy land or to get started. And there's a lot of confusion because NIFA, which is the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, actually offer a grant that's called the Beginning Farmer Rancher Development Program. Again, that is a grant opportunity for organizations and entities to apply for in providing educational opportunity, developing resources, providing materials. It could be online tools, a toolkit, things that's housed within a national library, things such as that. So there's grant opportunities for those organizations to receive money in putting information out there that assist those beginning farmer and ranchers. The same applies. It's very similar to OPPE, which is the Office of Partnership and Public Engagement, and they have the 2501 grant. I'm specifically mentioning these two because we're right now approaching that grant application period where folks are applying for it. So there's probably a lot of buzz out there on social media. You may see this floating around. And this is typically when we start getting the most questions about these type of things. The individual farmer calls, said, I see where there's a beginning farmer grant available. Well, yes, but it's for those organizations in providing those educational resources to the individual farmer. So just want to make that distinction. And with the 2501 grant, too, they may choose to focus on those underserved communities, minority producers, ensuring that everyone is equally served and they know what's available to them, and they're providing that assistance to every group that's out there that we serve across the U.S. The Ag Marketing Service, AMS, this is the Farmers Market Promotion Program and the Local Food Promotion Program. Again, and very popular programs, especially as we think about the local food movement. Again, it isn't something for the individual farmer. The farmers who participate in those farmers markets come together and apply for the loan as a group of individuals. That's how that's awarded. This program, or these two programs, are, I would say, located and housed within the Ag Marketing Service. However, in most states, the state departments of agriculture are the ones who actually administer this on behalf of the Ag Marketing Service. So I would encourage you, again, that's why it's so important to be connected. And that's another bonus about the state beginning farmer and rancher coordinators. Not only do they focus on USDA programs, but they stay in tune and they work very closely with our stakeholders in knowing what state programs are available to say beginning farmers and ranchers or anyone involved in the state. So they work very closely with those individuals outside of USDA, so we can refer folks to them and so they don't miss out on a lot of opportunities. So switching gears to the cost share opportunities to explain a little bit about that. Conservation programs are often cost share opportunities for our producers. The Conservation Reserve Program, CRP, this is where folks set aside their land. If they've got, let's say they go under contract, say 10 to 15 years, during that 10 to 15 year period, they often have to maintain that acreage, or they'll do mid-contract maintenance, as we call it. So there's cost share opportunities for them to do that. While they're under contract, they're getting an annual payment for that. They also must maintain it according to contract. And so there's cost share opportunities for them to do that. In times of natural disasters, things may happen. We were just talking before the meeting started about, unfortunately, tornadoes. They're terrible. So if a tornado comes through, disrupts your operation, destroys fencing, that's where the Emergency Conservation Program comes in. So we provide cost share in assistance in cleaning that up and repairing fences, cleaning up debris. And so there's good opportunities there. So that's through the Farm Service Agency as well. Then the Organic Certification Cost Share Program. If you're interested in organics, you want to become organically certified, we do have a cost share program that assists with that. Again, check with your local Farm Service Agency. This is actually another agricultural marketing service program that we talked about, but the FSA in many states administer that program. It could be a joint effort between the State Department of Agriculture and FSA, but if you go to the FSA office, they'll know who administers that. And then the Environmental Quality Incentives Program, EQIP. This is a very, very popular cost share program. It's through NRCS, Natural Resources Conservation Service, but the High Tunnel Program. So for example, you have small acreage, you're a fruit and vegetable grower. You want to extend your growing season on growing vegetables. The High Tunnel Program is a wonderful way to do that. Again, if you are a beginning farmer, historically underserved individual, you can get an increase in your financial assistance. Let's say the cost share is 75%. If you identify in one of those special groups, you can potentially get 90% cost share on that, as well as this program is competitive. So again, identify your special targeted groups if you fall into one of those, and you can receive priority in that ranking process. So there's all kinds of little things that's important out there, and we want you to be able to take advantage of all those. Again, that's why it's important to connect locally with your folks so they can talk to you about this and ensure that you're not missing out. Prescribed grazing, this kind of refers to the fencing question that was brought up. There's some opportunity to do some cross fencing through this EQIP program. We don't do perimeter fencing, but cost share perhaps would help with some cross fencing. And then irrigation, if you're needing some assistance in irrigating, there's an opportunity through the EQIP program to do that provides cost share. And then this is just to recognize the Natural Resource Conservation Service and steps for applying for that assistance. They provide technical assistance. These folks will come out, walk your farm with you, let you know what potentially you would be eligible for. And then the conservation planning, their conservation activity plan. So if you're wanting to transition to organics, that's an opportunity for you. But very popular is the EQIP program and the cost share opportunities through that. Then risk management agency. So you may think we've talked a lot about how you can get money to help you farm. It's very important to manage the risk that you have on your farm. So we really always include RMA, the risk management agency. So they head up all the insurance agents across the country. This is the USDA, the federal government agency that does all of the insurance stuff. They head all of that up. So it's so important for farmers to have insurance, because whether it's weather related, themselves could get sick, health issues arise that we can't help. So having that insurance, instead of losing nothing, saying losing your whole crop to hail damage or to a tornado, or if a freeze comes along, there's just all kinds of things that could happen, a drought. You can get money back on that. So especially if you have a loan, you've taken out loans to get crops planted, 9 times out of 10, your lender's going to require you to have insurance on that crop, because that's going to serve as their collateral if something were to happen. So we always stress the importance of that, and folks having that to fall back on. Instead of losing something totally, you all losing money, you've got that insurance to fall back on to help you. So just want to stress again and give some ideas of where a lot of good networking can take place and how you learn about these resources. Word of mouth travels really fast. So about all of these opportunities for financial assistance and different groups you can connect with. Again, at the top of the list is extension, cooperative extension through universities, educational opportunities. We can't stress how important that is. And then SARE, that's another place where grants are available. That's Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education. So they provide grants to those organizations in providing research for individual producers, and then providing that education to them. Again, opportunities. Then SCORE mentoring, how that's important for folks to have mentoring opportunities if it's someone just getting started. And then your Farm Bureau, local Farm Bureau for a lot of our beginning farmers, the Young Farmer and Rancher program. Then the National Farmer Coalition, local commodity and community-based groups. And here again, it's why it's so important to have a network locally, because this varies from state to state. Everything USDA is going to be universal, but when you get down to like local levels, state level, county levels, all of that's going to vary on how they administer programs, what opportunities are available. So please have your network, and so you don't miss out on opportunities. State Department of Ag, then your District Conservation Board, which works very closely with USDA NRCS. Then of course we have our FSA County Committee board members, where leadership and networking is offered. So stay connected and informed how you learn about all these opportunities so you don't miss out when there's program signups, when there's deadlines. Farmers.gov is kind of our one-stop shop for USDA, where all program information lives there. You can navigate that website. Gov Delivery, USDA Farm Service Agency, there's the website on how you get connected. We'll send you emails, text messages. It's not something to blow your inbox up, blow your phone up. There's a limit on how many can go out, but it does let you know of important signups, important information that you need to know when opportunities are available. Then each state, along with the State Beginning Farmer and Rancher Coordinator, who covers all things USDA, for specifically the Farm Service Agency, the State Outreach Coordinator, and this is an individual too, who can be your best friend, who's going to know about these opportunities that are available to you. So connect the directories there for our state outreach coordinators. Click on their name, their email, phone number. It's going to be there available to you. Reach out to those individuals to stay connected, and they can inform you of what's going on, as well as, outside of USDA and what's happening. So that ends our quick overview. I know it was kind of a lot of information thrown at you, but hopefully there's a better understanding and it clears up some questions that we had, answer some of those questions on grants versus loans and what's available and what's confusing. Thinking that perhaps you're a producer and you're missing out on some grant opportunities that are available through USDA. So letting you know that probably you as the individual, you're probably not missing out. You're probably just right where you need to be. But, staying informed and aware of the opportunities that certainly are available to you is very important. So, and we encourage you to stay connected with us and to reach out with any questions or comments you may have. Please, we'd love to hear from you. So don't hesitate to look us up and reach out. So with that, I guess, Ruth, I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Amanda, for some excellent information. Lots of information. We did have a request that your slides be made available through PDF. So if you would do that and send it to Doris, we'll go ahead and get that, where you'll get copies of this program as a PDF. All right, so do we have any individual questions that anybody would like to ask at this time? We'll certainly take them. You may either type them in the chat or you can unmute. All right, well, I think you've covered it very well, Amanda. I do appreciate you taking your evening to be with us. Let me go ahead. Oh, so someone's talking. Go ahead.
I'm just going to throw out there, why don't we, I don't know if you've got some questions. Okay, so we just had, what are the incentives for veteran farmers? So we'll give people a little bit of time here. Sometimes it takes longer to type things up than you imagine. So
it certainly does.
So Amanda, can you provide a little more insight into the veteran farmer situation?
Certainly. So yeah, if you're a veteran farmer, as I mentioned, through our loan program and through other opportunities where financial assistance is available, there is set aside funding specifically for veterans. So we try to ensure that like those buckets of money, we refer to them as buckets of money, that there's always money available. Sometimes we run out of funding in certain pools and we have to wait on money to be allocated again. But if we really try to have for our veteran farmers, beginning farmers, money readily available for those individuals. So they're pulled from a different group of funding that others are. So you would in essence get funding before someone else would potentially because you have that veteran farmer status. And so that's one thing. And then as we mentioned about the amount of cost share that you could receive, like for example, through NRCS, you know, we're trying to steer away from the cost share word, but I mean, that's what it is for financial assistance, but you know, it could be 90% cost share as opposed to 75% cost share. And also too, so something else is through a program that we offer through the Farm Service Agency called NAP Insurance, the Non-Insurable Assistance Disaster Programs. Oftentimes there's an administrative fee associated with some programs that you apply for. So that administrative fee could be completely waived. So you get that insurance for free or whatever program, like another one that comes to mind is the dairy margin coverage. So if you're a dairy farmer, you wouldn't pay the administrative fee that's associated with that. For NAP insurance, it's like $325 per crop. So that fee is waived. For the dairy program, it'd be $100. So that money is waived for you. You would get that to sign up for those programs free of charge. And then additionally, with that insurance, you can increase your coverage, say for 50%, half price of what it would typically cost if you fall in those categories.
So Amanda, would that be for the, you'd mentioned 10 years, I noticed on the vet side of things. So is that only for the first 10 years that they're eligible for that waiver of fees and the lower cost insurance?
Yes. So it applies as well, the 10-year rule. And we're hoping they will give that some consideration and potentially look at rewording that a little bit. But as it is now, it's like a beginning farmer veteran. And
got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So would that be true for, you know, so after 10 years, then does a veteran have any preferred status on anything after 10 years?
As it stands now, no.
What you mean by that, yeah? In years, you don't have no, you're not considered veteran farming or beginner farmer anymore. You've been farming over 10 years, ain't you? Or have what do you consider? a regular farmer because I've been doing it over 10 years.
Okay.
So to clarify that a little bit on the farming, over 10 years. So there may be folks who have farmed their entire life, but they have farmed with a parent, with a neighbor. We're looking at the key word in that is you have not operated a farm for more than 10 years. So oftentimes your tax returns, like if you filed a Schedule F, they look at whether or not you filed a Schedule F. So if you farm with someone where you have not specifically made managerial decisions, you haven't made the day-to-day decisions on the farm, until you start doing that, then you could be considered at the point that you began doing that, that's where your 10 years could come into play. So if you've just farmed with someone, you've worked on a farm your whole life, but you've not solely, you haven't operated that farm, you haven't made those decisions, you haven't bought, sold commodities in your name, it's been ran through someone else. That's what we're getting at when we're talking about you've not operated a farm for more than 10 years. So there's some leeway there on some opportunities, some flexibility. So just wanted to clarify that.
Okay. So in other words, if you were paid to, like you were a farm hand, you were getting paid to work on the farm, but you didn't do those management activities or didn't file a Schedule F, then but then you decided to start farming, then your 10 years would start at the point where you started farming and you started making those management decisions.
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. And so it's a little bit different. So again, here's where, we're trying to work on to get some consistency with our definitions per se and how we look at this. So for NRCS, they look at 10 consecutive years. So if you have, let's say you filed a Schedule F for several years, but you skipped a year within that 10-year window, then that clears you. You're still considered a beginning farmer. They look at the years of how many years you consistently filed a Schedule F within 10 years. So it's not just so for their beginning farmer definition, I know this gets confusing. And again, that's why it's important, connect with your local office so they can talk to you one-on-one about your particular situation, because I don't want you to discredit yourself or think I don't meet that definition, I don't qualify, because everyone's situation is different. So that's why it's so important to have that open communication with your local office to get that clarification. Tell them your situation, be honest, be upfront. That's the key to a lot of USDA programming, is open communication in those employees knowing your certain situation so you can talk through it. So if you think that you're not eligible, don't just say, I'm not going to fool with that, or I'm not going to go in. It's worth having that conversation with those folks. Again, that's why it's so important to connect locally.
Okay, well, if that concludes the questions that we have, let me just make a point too. If you're going into your local FSA office and asking questions, if you don't feel like you're getting answers that you understand, let me encourage you to keep asking until you get an understanding of what that office has to offer. I have a good relationship with my local FSA office, and it's so important that you develop that as well. We don't want anybody to come in, ask a question, feel like they didn't get an answer and walk out. So be persistent in that. James Birch, you have a question for us.
Yes. What is the role of the state veteran outreach coordinator? What are they doing different than what your typical or your regular NRCS agent does?
Okay, so as I stated, so those state coordinators do all things. They work across USDA with all of the agencies, and those individuals who are specific, like the state, the state, say NRCS public affairs individual, or the NRCS has developed some new outreach coordinator positions. They are specific to NRCS. So they stay in their lane of working and promoting NRCS programs. The state beginning farmer and rancher coordinators have the opportunity, their work expands across all USDA. So they have the leeway, the liberty to work across agencies, to network with folks, and again, to work outside of USDA in doing that. So they have a broader spectrum of what they are focusing on, not just responsible for their particular agency that they're with. And those individuals come from, the state coordinators are either from the Farm Service Agency, the Natural Resource Conservation Service, Risk Management Agency, or Rural Development. So it's an FPAC program that includes rural development, because the Farm Production and Conservation Division is FSA, NRCS, and RMA, because those are the three agencies primarily that provide one-on-one assistance to the farmer. So they're customer facing for our farmers, provide the most one-on-one assistance to them. So that's why they're grouped together like that. And then rural development, of course, because they offer the programs in rural areas and then offer the those grant programs that we mentioned to the individual farmers. So they're included. But yeah, those individuals, they have a broader scope of their work and what they do.
Well, all right then. So Amanda, I want to thank you very much for taking your evening with us, sharing your expertise. We do have your contact information that we will be sharing with people. You have developed a relationship with Amanda, so be sure you utilize it. We do appreciate that. And to request a conversation, maybe there's a group of veterans that want to get together and talk with the veterans coordinators. Well, to request that conversation, drop an email to myself, hampton.ruth@gmail.com. And in the subject line, put request a conversation and include your contact information. And we will organize this kind of conversation to share out with everyone. So with that, Amanda, thank you. Thank all of you for attending the inaugural Annie's Conversation. And with that, I will wish everyone good evening. And thank you all so much for attending. Any last comments? Thank you all so much. I do appreciate you attending our first inaugural meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Amanda, and thanks, everyone.
Welcome.
Thanks, Amanda. Have a good evening, everyone.